push to the Ukraine war that the Russian troops have now destroyed a Ukrainian assault group near Konstantinovka in the Sumy region of northeast Ukraine. According to the Russian defense sources, 3 Ukrainian counterattacks were repelled near the settlements in Sumy and Donetsk regions. Moreover, the head of the Donetsk People's Republic, Denis Pushilin, has rejected Ukrainian claims that Russia had been pushed out of Dobropole bulge, claiming that the Russian troops have rather expanded their hold in the region. In a separate development, the Russian government has responded to statements on Europe's security, suggesting that Europe would be better off engaging in dialogue with Russia instead of building divisive measures such as a drone wall. The Kremlin has also remarked that Germany has long been engaged indirectly in the ongoing Ukraine war. Additionally, the Kremlin has stated that many people in Ukraine's Odessa and Mykolaiv regions want to align with Russia but are afraid to speak out due to the current political climate. This comes as Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov comments on the discussion surrounding the United States' consideration of delivering Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. Speaking on the matter, Lavrov has asserted that Russia does not believe a decision has yet been made and further added that the US is under pressure from Europe to show it is considering the views of its allies. Now, coming to you, I do want to compare the kind of global attention that the Ukraine war at this point of time is getting versus the Gaza conflict that has also been going on for 2 years now. Do you think the Gaza peace plan and everything that is surrounding the Hamas-Israel war has overshadowed the Ukraine-Russia war, at least when we talk about the United Nations General Assembly, or for that matter, what has happened in the last in the last 2 days after the UNGA concluded?
You ask a very good question, and let's just remember, in regard to the UNGA, we also remember the amount of resolutions that the UN has passed against Israel, amounting to about, I think, 143 up to 2023. We remember that it is a constant. There is a constant bias of attention. People would argue, and I would argue that as well. Then, what you have just said in regard that does it then overshadow what is happening in Ukraine and Russia? And we look at the Russian propaganda machine, which is extremely extensive and works extremely well as they view it, because they then deny or obfuscate or say, no, that's not really us. So in many ways, you could argue that it actually suits Putin to have more of an Israel-Gaza war discussion, because then it dampens down anyone looking at what's happening in Ukraine and Russia. In what you've just reported, especially with the Tomahawk missiles, we touched this on another report, and all of this building, it then can get lost in certain narrative. Remember when the Russians have said, well, putting Tomahawks to Ukraine into the theater of war is not going to be a panacea, because they will still continue their actions. Any army. The big issue is that the propaganda war is so profoundly important than what to then talk about or actually then inform about what's happening on the ground in their favor. That's why the whole element of propaganda is profoundly important. But you raise that important issue. As certain things, as we've had over here in the UK, there's a phrase, when certain bad news then goes out, it then gives you, or certain news, it gives you an opportunity to then put bad news out. You can hide within the headlines the information that you want to get out there. So in regard to propaganda or waiting for that, nothing is new. Thank you.
All right, Mark Soderberg,